Go.
This is Good Morning Liberty.
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston. Across from me is Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson, coming at you at 4:43 p.m. Central Time.
Good night, Liberty.
On a Monday, so it's a good kind of late afternoon Liberty. Yeah. The sun's going to be going down when I go home.
It might be. It definitely when we spring or fall back, it'll be.
Yeah.
It's dark outside right now. I got to tell you something, though, Nate. It's still, taxation is still theft at night.
It is.
Like it is in the morning. So whether we go live in the morning or in the evening, what we have to say is still pretty important for the movement of liberty.
Same.
I think.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Also, yeah.
This is a show about life, liberty, and the pursuit of meaning, and we do it 5 days a week when we want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the time of day. That's the day. All of the above.
Yeah.
I'll be traveling again in October, by the way. Just
good.
Want to get that out there.
Good. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so we got a big announcement. The good thing about going later in the day is that you get a couple news announcements that we wouldn't have been able to talk about until tomorrow. And so we have the big press conference on autism. That is, I'm not sure if it's over yet. It was has been going on now for like the last hour or so. And so anyway, they made their big announcement, and here it is.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
See, they did go over it before.
Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol. During pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Oh, okay. This is all due to the Tylenol killer.
It is, yeah. It all goes back to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is before they had the seal, and somebody's still injecting.
Yeah. I mean, can you believe back
things at the lab?
You used to have to, you could just open it up and the pills would be right there. There wasn't a seal over the top of the bottle.
Didn't have to fight the seal.
That's crazy, man. One guy screwed it up for all of us.
I think somebody's still at the lab injecting it instead of cyanide.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's just injecting autism.
I like that. I think we should just do conspiracy theories all week. Okay, so anyhow, the news event here is that they're saying right now that the use of Tylenol during pregnancy is associated with an increased risk of autism spectrum disorder. I haven't had time to look into all of the relevant studies on this. That's something that I'll try and have prepared for tomorrow. I'm not saying that this is not the case. There is something that causes ASD. We don't know exactly what it is. And I think it's a good idea for people to be focused on what that thing is, even if it affects people's profit margins, which is likely why we haven't gotten down to the bottom of what actually causes it. There probably is something that we are putting into our bodies that causes this to happen. And right now they're leaning towards Tylenol is the main thing they talked about. They've talked about the vaccines a little bit. I believe there's some guidance on spacing out the vaccines more, I believe. I had to mute the press conference because I just didn't want to listen to it. I just waited until RFK came up there and I listened to some of his, and then I listened to Bhattacharya and Martin McCary. So I do have that clip from, I think, McCary that I did cut that we can play real quick if you want to. It's 3 minutes and 50 seconds long, but I don't know. Do you want to hear that?
Let's hear it.
See what it was kind of, I was watching and I saw his was pretty good because it was kind of short and to the point. And sorry, I said it was kind of short at the time that the screenshot here is him moving the microphone down because he is, he's on the shorter end of this spectrum, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Spectrums are fine.
Yeah. He's had a tall life regardless. Okay. Okay. Here's his thing.
Dr. Bhattacharya. Mr. President, this is the start of a historic shift in medical culture. This administration is working together to ask big questions about why our nation's children are getting sick so fast. Too often, medicine is doing small little studies, giving us answers we already knew. But we've got to make a difference. You've given us a charge to identify root causes, and we are not going to stop so that we can end the suffering we are watching. And if you've seen a kid with autism, with severe autism, it's hard to watch. Kids get frustrated, they get angry, they can be crying because they want to speak and they can't speak. It's hard to watch, and it may be entirely preventable. For an epidemiologist, that child is an expanding statistic. But for a child, it can be brutal to have autism. Today, the FDA is taking action to update the label on acetaminophen and sending a letter to all U.S. doctors letting them know about the risks in pregnancy. We now have data we cannot ignore. There's a very large study, the Boston Birth Cohort, with researchers that have, from Johns Hopkins, my former institution, and Boston University, found quote-unquote consistent associations between acetaminophen in pregnancy and autism. And the Nurses' Health Study with researchers from Yale, Columbia, and Harvard looking at 9,000 kids found that acetaminophen use in pregnancy was associated with neurodevelopmental disorders. And 4 weeks ago, a Mount Sinai Harvard study reviewed all the existing literature and found the overwhelming body of evidence points to an association. Sure, you'll be able to find a study to the contrary. That's how science works. But to quote the dean of the Harvard School of Public Health, there is a causal relationship between prenatal acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. We cannot wait any longer. And honestly, there's been this perfunctory, reactionary, mindless practice in medicine. I learned it in medical school and residency. Just treat all fevers, low-grade fevers, treat them with acetaminophen. Why? What are we doing? A study out of Hopkins actually showed that treating a fever can prolong the duration of illness in a young kid. Maybe that's because a fever is a body's natural way of ridding an infection. When my wife was pregnant and delivered our son a few months ago, they pushed her to take acetaminophen for a low-grade fever. She said no, and then they looked to me and I said, absolutely no. I'm also here to announce good news. Today, the FDA is filing a Federal Register notice to change the label on an exciting treatment called prescription leucovorin so that it can be available to children with autism. You know, autism may also be due to an autoimmune reaction to a folate receptor on the brain, not allowing that important vitamin to get into the brain cells. It's a fairly established, mature pathway. Again, we have a duty to let doctors and the public know. We are going to change the label to make it available. Hundreds of thousands of kids, in my opinion, will benefit. One study found that with kids with autism and chronic folate deficiency, 2/3 of kids with autism symptoms had improvement, and some marked improvement. Mr. President, you told us to do what's medically right, to go bold, and not worry about...
All right. So that's that part. I loved what he said about fevers because I've always naturally had that thing. Like when I guess it was kind of tough during COVID, but I had a high grade fever and I just let that go for like 8 days, and that was probably not a good idea. It was like day 8. I was like, I think I'm going to take some Tylenol. But I was like, why would I take something that just makes my fever go down? There's a reason my body has a fever. Like the fever is not the disease I'm fighting off here. It's what my body's trying to do to fight it off.
I find ibuprofen to be much more effective.
Well, I'm just saying, like I've always had the
fevers, headaches, everything.
I hardly ever take Tylenol. I've just always had the natural feeling that like there's a reason my body is spiking a fever right now. It's trying to fight something off. So why am I just going to try and stop it from fighting the thing off? That seems counterproductive to me, but I shouldn't have let my high grade go for a super long time. It caused me to lose like a quarter of my hair.
I have a different theory.
Yeah?
Now, Tylenol could be part of it, but I still have a theory of processed foods.
Yeah.
That has a much more a much greater effect on neurodevelopment, in my opinion. And the reason for this is not just the folate that opens up the neural pathway, but there's also glutamate and other neurotransmitters that are deficient in people with ADHD and people that are on the autism spectrum. It's one of the reasons that they crave crunchy carbs. And I found that to be interesting with my own son who has autism. And I found it to be interesting that he always, when he was a kid, he just wanted crackers. That was it. And then I finally got him into peanut butter crackers. And then I was able to sneak some things into peanut butter crackers till he figured that out because he is smart. And then we went on to cheese crackers. And now we're eating pizza and grilled cheese and quesadillas, but still very limited. It's like he struggles to eat a cheeseburger, struggles to eat chicken, unless it's McDonald's.
Yeah.
McDonald's chicken nuggets, no problem.
Well, it's not chicken.
I know. Yeah. It's whatever. It's processed. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I find it there's interesting studies out there. And I think I first saw this girl who's not really credentialed. Well, she's not credentialed, but anyway, she had done some research and figured out the glutamate and some other neural pathways that were inhibited, and that now Princeton and some other people, she says they're stealing her research, but whatever, at least it's validated. Now you have some other academic schools that are actually validating her research on that. So I think it's multivariate. I think I do, and I also think, like, even if you think about this just logically or think about it reasonably, like, we know that things are not good if they're not done in moderation. Like, you can have a drink of alcohol, let's say, and you're probably going to be fine. But
I told Lacey that the other day, and she disagreed.
Well, not for you, because you went past that mark previously. But if you drink heavily, you're not going to be fine. And I think, like, okay, if you inject a 1-week-old baby with all the vaccines the world has to offer, probably not a good idea. Like, how does the immune system even react to all the different, foreign substances that just entered the body? It's like, well, we got to toughen you up, kid. Might as well punch him in the face at the same time,
Toughen him up a little bit.
Toughen him up.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, and so I think elongating the vaccine cycle, I think probably reducing. I think if you're pregnant, if you can reduce as many foreign type of things and you eat generally whole foods, the health of your baby is probably going to be a little bit better than it would if you're eating junk and those types of things. And that's just a basic reasoning and understanding. I mean, we have an obesity epidemic in America for a reason. And you can chalk that up to high fructose corn syrup, processed foods that are incredibly high in sugar.
And people sitting in chairs all day. Just sitting.
Yeah.
Sitting right here, like what I'm doing right
Sedentary.
now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they did release an autism. Actually, I appreciate when Dr. Thompson shows up. That's good. Let us know.
Not a doctor.
All your stuff. Yeah.
Not a doctor.
No. I got some stuff to ask you later about this thing going on.
Okay.
With my toe. So no, I don't know. I just made that up.
I'm not a doctor, but like Charlie Kirk, I can read.
Yes.
So
yeah.
By the way, I'm also very proud that I didn't graduate. I didn't go to college either. I didn't graduate college.
Yeah. Hey, me either.
Yeah.
I paid for a whole lot of college.
You were about 4 credits away.
I passed all the classes I went to.
You were 4 credit hours?
It's student teaching and piano recital. So whatever.
6 credit hours, maybe?
I don't know how many credit hours that is. It was, not that
still
much.
Paying for it.
Yeah, literally still paying for it right now. I'm 38. So
how much did you learn compared to like what I learned not going?
I don't know. I hardly went, man. I was, yeah, fun times. The crazy thing I'm seeing right now, by the way, from people in the online community that I just posted about a few minutes ago, the way I said it was, I don't know for sure that Tylenol causes autism. I don't know if there is a study that's going to prove a causal relationship with Tylenol. But it is amazing the amount of people out there on the left that just automatically know it's not Tylenol. Like they just know that. And it's the wildest thing to me that what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years is that all of a sudden everyone on the left just accepts everything that the pharmaceutical manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies have told them. And if you go against what any of them have shown you or the studies that they allowed to get published, after they axed all the people that had negative reactions during the study so they could make money, of course, that they just automatically will believe all of it. And it's just wild to me. That's what's happened. Like, I don't know if
they flipped
Tylenol.
on this way faster than they flipped on war.
They
Used to be anti-war, and now it's like send money to Ukraine, and it only took about a year or two for them to like Pfizer's right about everything.
And I think because they bought in so hard, it's tough for them to go back. Because I think all of a sudden they saw that science could be used as a tool for control. And during that time, and so it became like the most important thing in the world to them because it was a way to control people. But now they bought in so hard during that time that I don't know if they'll ever be able to go back. They did release this action plan here. So, number 1, informing doctors and families, FDA will issue a physician notice and initiate a safety label change on acetaminophen.
Acetaminophen?
Research shows a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes. Now that's a little bit different from, say, the rhetoric Trump was using during this press conference, because I have heard he's like, Tylenol, it's bad. You don't want to use it. Don't take it if you're pregnant. All this kind of stuff. And I can smell some lawsuits coming probably from the company that owns Tylenol.
Is that Johnson & Johnson?
No, it's I actually hadn't heard of the company before. I can tell you
it was Johnson & Johnson & Johnson.
This Kenvue. So from the CNN article, Tylenol maker Kenvue said earlier this month that it had engaged in a scientific exchange on the issue with HHS and urged pregnant women to speak with their healthcare provider before taking any over-the-counter medication. The maker of Tylenol, let me make sure. Yeah, I'm making sure this is worded properly. Urge pregnant women to speak with their healthcare provider before taking any over-the-counter medication. Well, they're going to look and it's going to say, well, it says it's good to go. And then that's what they're going to say afterwards. Like the thing is, they're talking about changing that. Quote, they say, quote, acetaminophen is the safest pain reliever option for pregnant women as needed throughout their entire pregnancy. Notice they didn't say it's completely safe. They said it's the safest option, because all the other ones are worse than it. So I do even see some of their wording in here where they talk, we talk with HHS and we think people should talk to their doctor. So it's not we're not telling you to take this. We think you should talk to your doctor. And then they say, well, this is the safest option that you have for taking something. Without it, women face dangerous choices, suffer through conditions like fever that are potentially harmful to both mom and baby, or use riskier alternatives. And I think one of the big things, like what that clip we were just watching would say is, like if you have a low-grade fever, I think what they're saying here, we're not medical professionals here and don't take our medical advice at all. But what I heard is you just have a low-grade fever, you don't have to just go take some Tylenol or whatever to try and knock that fever down. If you have a high fever, do you know what the threshold is for that? Probably someone in the group can tell us pretty quickly.
Well, anything over 100.5 is considered a fever, and typically they don't really start to get concerned unless it's, above 103.
Yeah.
104.
I consider it, so high grades over 104. See, I consider like over 102 to be like a pretty high fever, but I guess it's barely over the threshold of what they even really consider in the fever range. I mean, like 102, 103, like you're it's hard to get out of bed with that kind of fever.
But it's not about that. It's really when seizures start.
Yeah.
So that's
okay. Yeah.
That's why I say 103, 104.
Yeah.
When they start to get really concerned.
You just don't sit there and let like brain cells be cooked off and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
Thank
you, Dr. Thurston.
That's my professional advice.
Yeah.
Is if you see like steam kind of coming out of there, then that's a problem, and I would get that checked out.
What's interesting too, though, is that it's relative. It's like we have these ranges, but every human body is unique. Some people have a naturally lower temperature.
Lacey's is 1 degree lower all the time.
Yeah, so she is going to survive climate change.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
Yeah, when the temperature goes up 1 degree, she'll be like, wow.
Well, actually, but she runs kind of hot all the time, so it actually will feel hotter to her because when you have a lower temperature, she feels. I think she'll be able to handle it now that I'm thinking about it. She's like hot all the time.
She a lizard
with a lower temperature.
She's a lizard.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong there. I need to get that checked out.
She's cold-blooded.
Yeah. Luckily, we got married out of the country. I don't think it counts.
But she runs hot.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, we'll get more information. We've clearly exhausted all the knowledge that we have on this subject for the time being, but I will become an expert on the existing medical studies overnight, and we will talk about it tomorrow.
By the way, it's still a Johnson & Johnson company. They spun off.
Oh, is it? Did we get some... Okay.
Well, I looked it up, and I was just waiting for you to stop talking so I could interject that.
Yeah.
And someone from the Fed Haters Club probably wants credit because they put it in there after I looked it up. I just want that to be clear.
You got your information from your research, not from what they posted.
Exactly. They spun off Kenvue in 2023. Weird timing.
Okay.
Weird timing to spin off a company that you've had since 1959, Johnson & Johnson. And Johnson & Johnson for the people.
Interesting. Actually, when did they spin that off?
2023.
Huh. Okay.
That they've had since 1959.
Huh.
They bought it from McNeil Pharmaceuticals, I think, in 1955.
Huh.
And they've had it since 1959 and 2023.
They just happened to spin it off.
We're just going to spin this. We're just going to spin it off.
Okay.
So
I like that one. I like where you're going with this conspiracy theory right here.
I didn't start.
Are you suggesting that they knew that they had prior knowledge?
I never said conspiracy theory.
Okay.
All I said was that they spun it off. And I find it interesting. They've held on to this company since 1959. And then, I don't know, 2023, they spin it off. I mean, what's that? 64 years later. Sometimes you make business decisions because you see the future, or like something informs you to make that business decision, or you're just like, one of our top, producing profit generating products after 64 years is long enough.
That's the timetable.
We'll spin that off.
Or it could be, a lot of times what happens is people spend the part of their company that they're losing money on off, and there's a lot of generics out there, right? So they could have spun it off because they were losing money on it. They want to get it off their books for Johnson & Johnson so they could show more profits on their main stock. That's something that happens a lot. So, okay. Good news to everyone on the left who was very, very, very upset about Jimmy Kimmel being off the air. It's just, it's not like they weren't watching him or anything. They're very upset that he was off the air for those 3 days that he spent off the air. And he's going to be coming back tomorrow night in what will be his most watched show ever. And then it's all going to be downhill from there again. That he's coming back. And hey, it's I don't just want to say that they're excited. We were upset about seemingly the pressure that was put on ABC and Disney by the FCC from a free market standpoint. They should have fired the guy years ago, but we were upset about the idea that the government could be pressuring the company to make this decision. Don't really like the idea of going down that road, whatever. But anyhow, they have come out and said that he's coming back tomorrow night. So here is the statement. The Walt Disney Company issued the following statement. Last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached a decision to return the show on Tuesday. So that's
Thoughtful conversations with Jimmy.
Yeah. And now what I wasn't even aware that they're like the left was working on like this boycott of, I guess, ABC or Disney or, you know, the whole thing or whatever. But according to them, what I've seen is that this boycott was so impactful.
It worked.
On the company. They were able to organize this boycott over the last like 3 business days. There was a weekend in between there too. And that boycott was so impactful on the company that Disney was so scared that they had to bring Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. So like that's kind of story.
Well, they wanted to make sure everybody watched football tonight.
That's what
ESPN, ABC
was the other thing. But like I didn't see anything about the boycott really, but I'm not on left Twitter, so left X, and so I didn't see much about it. I kept seeing people post that like, of course they gave in. There's a boycott. Their stock tanked. Their stock plummeted. I've seen it said many different ways. Their stock was down 3% over the last 3 trading days. There was a day last month where it dropped 5.5%. There was a day last year where it dropped over 10% overnight, but they lost 3% over 3, maybe 4 trading days. I can't remember what time of the day they announced the Jimmy Kimmel thing last week, but if you ask people on the left, of course they gave in because they lost so much money on their stock declining by 3%, and the boycott was so dangerous that they had to give in and bring Jimmy Kimmel back. Now, this theory the whole thing is weird to me because I thought the FCC and Trump were going to pull all these broadcast licenses from Sinclair and Nexstar and all these companies that actually hold the licenses. And you would think that that threat would still exist and that ABC or Disney would look and say, well, we can either deal with people boycotting us or we can lose all of our broadcast rights. And so like some of the country is going to boycott us and that might hurt our advertising contracts, or like we just can't broadcast anything anywhere. And so then you look, and so to me, this really cuts against this whole fascist authoritarian dictatorship narrative, because it seems to be that the left is saying right now, I'm seeing posts all over the place about it from big accounts, that all that was needed to stop Hitler's rise to power was a good old boycott and a 3% decline in the market. And that would have stopped it. And in fact, what the left is saying is that the way to stop authoritarianism is by embracing free market capitalism. And that is what all of their posts are saying.
You vote with your dollars.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof.
And so I don't know if that's what they meant it to say, but that's what I take it as saying right now. Like Governor J.B. Pritzker, he put down the sausage he was eating, and he said, "Tyranny requires constant effort. This is a quote here. Quote, tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks, it leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that." I don't know who said that, honestly. I don't care.
Abraham Lincoln, probably.
I don't recognize it as a Ayn Rand quote or anything, so not a big deal right now. And then he says, "Looking forward to seeing Jimmy back on the air."
Do you think you ever watched the Jimmy Kimmel show before?
No.
Tomorrow night?
Hardly anyone did.
Yeah.
At all. Like if you were a betting man and you just picked a person off the street, like you make a pretty good bet that person does not watch Jimmy Kimmel ever. And so it's especially if they're in the key demographic, which the numbers were, pretty sad for a show that goes out free to everyone's TV. It's like if you have a TV, you could get the show.
The people who would care about what this guy would have to say, they're probably all playing video games.
Yeah, probably. And let's see. Gavin Newsom said something I don't care. Don Winslow, I think that's let me see here. Why do I know this guy's name? Who cares? He says, learn from this win. Number 1, make the company lose money. Call out the executives by name. Shout louder than Trump/MAGA. 4, rally celebrities and pound social media. Oh yeah, they got the letter for all these famous people to sign. It's like 400 famous people signed on. I mean, they were like, this is bad. We don't like it. And so that put a lot of pressure on them too, and said, make it cost them money. Money talks. Now, in my opinion, something that would cost them a lot more money is not being able to broadcast anything out into the United States. But, considering we were dealing with a fascist authoritarian dictatorship here, that's what seemingly was going to happen in order to stop free speech, like the Trump administration was trying to do. But whatever.
Even though I still take issue to some of the things Brandon Carr was saying.
No, I'm against what the FCC was looking at doing. I'm just saying now the left reaction to this is can we just have one side not have a dumb reaction like at one time?
No.
Just like one time. That would be really great. So that's what we got on this so far. And I put here my notes to make sure that I said I was thinking about it a lot about the Trump administration trying to pressure them to drop Kimmel, I guess, whatever the pressure was. And I think overall it's a bad strategy. Even if you're on the right and like, we got to fight fire with fire and the left does this and that and all that. Listen, it's important for America to see Jimmy Kimmel and all of the stupid stuff he says all the time. Like, the more Democrats talk and the more leftist people talk, the less people like them. So, like, the worst thing you could do is prevent them from looking like idiots in front of America.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on the matter.
You don't want to stoop to their level. Like, don't you remember this when you were kids? Like, two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
Okay? And you got to do, and I think for what it's worth, I think for the most part, at least, even though I don't agree always with the right, at least they've made what I think are some strides, especially recently with the whole Charlie Kirk assassination, that we didn't see riots in the streets. We didn't see the same things that happened during BLM and all of that stuff. What we saw was a worship service / political rally.
Yeah.
That was kind of what it was. mostly a worship service. There was a lot of celebration of life that took place. But the other things, like, we shouldn't cancel people like Jimmy Kimmel on the basis of free speech, number one. Second, I like what you said. Like, let him say dumb stuff out loud.
Yeah.
First of all, our show depends on it. We have Dumb Bleep of the Week.
I need content.
We got to have the content. We need people saying stupid stuff. There's no shortage of that, by the way, though. Even if Jimmy Kimmel was canceled, plenty of content. So
yeah,
I think we're going to be just fine.
We have plenty of content for sure. We could trim Dumb Bleep down even to like 10, So there's content for that.
Plenty.
So we still do 3 or 4 of them a week, actually. So that's all true. I was thinking about how the right wasn't rioting, and I think there's a couple things. One of them is actually scary to me, but there's a couple things. One, I don't think the right in general, saying that as a general term, is a group of people that like are just going to go riot in the street. Like, and that's the difference between the right and the left. Like, I think the right, no matter what stuff they think the government ought to do, they respect people's property rights, individuals' property rights, business property rights. Like, we got like one,
except for that Charlottesville incident when you had those white supremacists.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really. I'm talking about like on average.
I just wanted to bring up the fine people on both sides.
Yeah. I thought you were going to bring up. Jan 6.
Oh, well.
And even in that
It's
case,
just hard to speak about. That's why I didn't bring it up.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be too heavy today, but I do go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah. I just watched a 9-hour funeral yesterday. Okay,
now we're doing Jan 6.
I'm a little emotionally taxed here.
No, but the thing about Jan 6 is, even though we disagree with the stuff that happened on Jan 6, at least they took their fight to the right place.
Yeah.
They didn't go burn down a bunch of random convenience stores or anything. They weren't looting Nike over the whole thing. They're like, we have an issue with something the government is doing right now. The government is doing a thing, and by God, we're not even going to that police station. We're going to go into the Galdern Capitol right now, all the way in there. And so, like,
So you're encouraging.
No, I'm not encouraging. I'm encouraged by the fact that when the right does decide, screw it.
We
let's
shit
go-
on the right desks.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
We know the place to defecate. It's not the streets, okay?
No, it's Nancy Pelosi's desk.
Nancy Pelosi's desk.
Yeah. And Deborah, wherever Deborah is. And so that's good. The other bad thing, so I was thinking about what if the Charlie Kirk thing had happened while there was let's say Kamala Harris had won the election and the Charlie Kirk thing had happened. Would the right had a different reaction? If there were like Democrat administration, the things that Trump has done, like with education and with all that kind of stuff, and they still felt like there was this tyrannical government they were scared of, because like right now the right has no view in their mind that a government can be tyrannical. No offense, people on the right listening right now, but it's not always going to be a Republican in office. And so I'm like, if you're back in that mindset, like in the Biden, like think Biden COVID years mindset, where it's just like you're so upset about everything the government is doing and all the censorship, and you're like still there because we didn't get the release from Biden into Trump or anything. We're still living under this thing. And the Charlie Kirk assassination happens. Does the right have a different reaction? No, probably still not. I think maybe you might see a little bit of random stuff potentially. And there's still time for that. Like this is still pretty fresh right now. I don't know how many days it's been, like 11 days or 12 days, I think, since that happened. So there's still time if someone decides that they're going to do something, which they should not. I worry that the reaction is, well, it's a lot of things that need to change culturally in America.
Acetaminophen.
So the culture in America. But you know what? We got our guy in there in office. We don't really need to stand up. We don't really need to fight back. We got Trump in there and he's going to do the right thing. And so I don't want that to be the case either. Like everyone still needs to, do their thing and not just assume that the Trump administration is going to make the right executive order that's going to solve this. I was just thinking about how crazy it is. Like you get George Floyd, the riots, stuff like that. You'll remember that. Then you get this, and it's like praise and worship service that happens afterwards, and all these people show up. By the way, it's over 100,000 people. I've seen reports in the 200,000s. I saw that they had basically located 250,000 cell phones in the area around there. And so clearly the stadium was full and then there were tons of people outside, and it's just wild
The
to see.
baseball stadium was full.
Really?
Which was the overflow seating across the street.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's just really, really crazy.
There were multiple live streams happening, over the Charlie Kirk channel, the Turning Point USA channel, a bunch of them. And then, of course, there were a bunch of people live streaming that.
Yeah.
Sharing that. You were watching one that was over 1 million.
On
Turning Point.
Turning Point's or Charlie Kirk's
Twitter
channel on X, I can't remember which one it is. There were 1.1 million people watching at the time that I was on there.
It's millions.
It's a lot of people.
Millions worldwide.
And that's just one channel on X, and I did not look anywhere else at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of people watching.
I did see a report that it is either on par or has now surpassed the largest funeral in American history.
Is that MLK, JFK?
MLK and JFK.
Okay.
Are the other two.
Yeah.
So that's pretty insane.
It's pretty wild. And I wanted to say, I did have this thing of criticism.
We also saw actually a ton of people accept Jesus for the first time. So I think, obviously Charlie lived his life in a way that I think he would be proud of his death. And someone said, I think it was someone from Turning Point USA said, if you would ask Charlie, knowing that you would die, would you not show up knowing that here's what happened after you died? 50,000 people potentially gave their life to Jesus. Would you, they all said they think Charlie would still show up.
Yeah, I think he'd make that deal, for sure. I've seen a lot of criticisms of the event on X, and Charlie knows I was one of the people who initially criticized the idea of the event. Mainly, saw the poster going around, and it just looked like a Trump rally to me when I saw the poster going around. And I didn't watch any of the speeches from the people in the administration, just because I felt like the other people were like overwhelmingly positive, and I didn't want to get it tainted.
It was actually really good until it got to Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, and what they wrote for Trump was pretty good. It's just when he went off script, it was a couple campaign things, and you're like, come on, dude. Obviously he called Erika out at the end. I think they, shared a heartfelt few of them hugs. Obviously I think, Charlie had Trump's cell phone, so they were, I don't know if you say friends, but they knew each other. They were that close. So I just, part of me was like hoping that Trump would kind of try to stick to celebrating Charlie's life instead of talking about autism and
tariffs.
So, he started out by saying, Lee Greenwood, how great he is. And he's been there since the beginning. Thanks, Lee. Like, what?
Yeah.
You're starting your remarks?
He just, there's Lee Greenwood. He's playing a song.
That's true.
That's not too crazy. Let me finish my statement before everyone thinks I just hated this event. My initial feelings on it were that it was too much like a political rally. And it was kind of gross to me that it was too much like a political rally. And then I was thinking like, well, this is for Charlie Kirk, and what would Charlie Kirk want it to be? And to be honest with you, I think it was every bit 100% exactly what Charlie Kirk would have wanted it to be. What's wild is one of his TPUSA guys on stage showed the screenshot of Charlie saying "my vision." Now, of course, he was talking about future TPUSA events, but he sent the stadium pictures that looked basically exactly like his memorial service. Mm-hmm. And they literally said from the stage, like, Charlie, you did it. Your vision came to life. And so you're right. I think this is exactly, and I was kind of thinking about this too. It's like, when I die, I don't want a sad funeral either. Like, I don't want to, obviously there's going to be sorrow, but maybe it could be.
There's going to be a lot of celebrations.
We'll see how it goes
too.
Yeah.
But I would want people to have fun and actually celebrate, the things that we did together. That's what I would want.
Yeah. I would want the same thing. And if you want to make it into a political rally, that'd be great too. Like I want it to be a celebration, and I want there to be a whole stadium full of people there. And so you guys just make sure that that's what happens. And like, I'll be looking on with fondness as well.
I'll rent the Rutledge old times. We'll fill it up.
They're closed, unfortunately. Yeah. Just closed.
Well, I'll turn into Martin's. So
rent out Martin's barbecue for my funeral, please. That would be great. Okay, so I won't play the Trump stuff because both of us agree. Like, honestly, I kind of wish Trump wouldn't have spoken yesterday. Like, they should have ended it with Erica Kirk. And I think if you would have cut out Trump and Stephen Miller, then it would have just been really great. I think that would have been really, really great. I think the addition of Trump and Stephen Miller brought on negativity and things that didn't need to exist. But once again, when I think, what would Charlie Kirk had wanted? Of course he would have wanted Trump to be there. And of course he would have wanted Trump to make a political campaign speech while he was there and talk about all the great things that Trump is doing. So like, that's exactly what he would have wanted, for sure. So, just got to try and keep that in mind. I had a couple things like, I don't want to do the negative thing. Let's talk before we get out of here today. Let's do the Erica Kirk thing. I think that's an important one to do. Two things here from Erica Kirk. One of them came out beforehand that concerned the death penalty for the person that allegedly killed her husband. And I'll play the clip here. I'm going to unmute the video, and then I'm going to play the clip after that.
So you guys can
interview
hear it.
with the New York Times saying, it came out this morning, saying, for Erica Kirk, a husband's life cut short by the violence he seemed to foresee, saying, I'm a strong believer that this was God's plan, and it's so clear cut. It couldn't be more Charlie. I've had so many people ask, do you feel anger towards this man? Like, do you want to seek the death penalty? I'll be honest, I told our lawyer, I want the government to decide this. I do not want that man's blood on my ledger, because when I get to heaven and Jesus is like, eye for an eye, is that how we do it? And that keeps me from being in heaven, from being with Charlie.
I can't imagine having to have these thoughts.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty good, first off. That's a good one. Now, she didn't say you shouldn't get the death penalty. She just said she wants the government to decide on that. And so that's interesting, because it seems to me she's clearly on the fence about whether or not advocating for the death penalty is a good thing, is like a Christian thing to do.
Well, God, she's a human who has feelings.
Yeah.
Like, of course you want the death penalty right afterwards,
Immediately.
I mean, I imagine, like, if someone just, like, murdered my son or the people that I love or care about, right away, like, it's hard for me to talk to God because vengeance is running through my veins. Like, I totally get that human response. So I think naturally she would probably want some vengeance, but that's why you build your foundation on a solid rock like Jesus. And this is one I was telling Nate before the show. I never got a chance to talk to Charlie Kirk, but if I had, I think I probably could have changed his mind on the death penalty, because Charlie Kirk is one who did believe in the death penalty. He cited the Torah for that. He also cited that Jesus came basically to fulfill the ceremonial law, but not the moral law. And we still regard the civil law of the Torah as in high regard. Not that it's a sin not to do it necessarily, which I found interesting. And I think one of the things Charlie Kirk used to wear all the time was "Big government sucks," and he also understood that government's not great at deciding things. And I think if I could have, like, every debate I watched him talk about this, no one hit him with the fact that the government's got it wrong 30% of the time.
No one. It's always,
and we
like,
could have had the talk of that statistic, and also the talk of free speech and letting the government decide what misinformation. Like, do we let the government decide who lives and dies? I think you would agree with me, Charlie. We shouldn't let that happen.
The question to ask someone on the death penalty is not, do you think this is a moral thing for us to do? The question to ask someone on the death penalty is, how much do you trust the government? If the answer is not 100%, you probably shouldn't use them to kill people.
Exactly.
That's a pretty easy one for me right there.
I'm not even saying we could take this off the morality discussion. We could not talk about whether or not you even think it's morally correct, an eye for an eye or blood for blood, whatever the Torah lays out. You could take that off the table and just be like, can the government legitimately decide this with which as much corruption as we know exists? And then you point out the fact that they've gotten it wrong 30% of the time of the people they killed, and you can't bring those people back.
Yeah. I'm going to play the forgiveness thing. So I think it would be doing a disservice to Erica Kirk to not make sure that we play this clip before we get done with the show today. So this is one of the most profound and impactful moments I think you'll ever see streamed out to millions and millions and millions of people and watched by people all around the world. And that's someone forgiving, 10 days afterwards, 11, whatever the number is afterwards,
her whole speech was powerful.
The person who killed her husband. I mean, that is something else to be able to get up there and do that. And so she's
well, what I know and what I've seen, she appears to be a woman anointed by God.
She's
it's been incredible to watch.
Yeah, she's been very, very strong throughout this time. Just say that. Very, very strong. And
I don't know that I could do that.
And her ability to speak and her ability to maintain her morals, just all kinds of stuff.
Yesterday, watching the funeral, at one point, Brittany was like, what did he say? They were replaying the video. I had a hard time getting it out, repeating what Charlie Kirk had said because it choked me up so badly. And she's up there just like the strength is like, it's impressive.
All right, here's that clip.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Man, her eyes are piercing.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Looking right into your soul.
She's like they're so light blue. They're like she almost looks albino. Like she has albino eyes. She looks at you just like, oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I had a few comments in it. So of course this sparks like a debate online, and tied a few things. Matt Walsh on this, he said, forgiveness and justice are not at odds. Erika courageously forgave her husband's killer. She never said he shouldn't be punished severely for his crime. Yes, we should forgive those who commit the most heinous acts. We should also arrest, convict, and execute them. Again, these are not at odds. And I think, like, other than the executing part, that's clearly true. You still deserve a just punishment for a thing that you did, even if you forgive. The forgiveness, in my opinion, is more for you, like for your heart, so you can get through it. And I think that's an important thing for people to be able to do, is to not hold on to that hatred, but not hold on to that problem with all the way up to, I guess, the person who just murdered your husband 10 or 11 days ago. That's a tough one. Just say that's a real tough one,
That would be very hard to do.
Yeah, I don't think I am the kind of person that would be able to do that if someone murder my wife. I don't know if I'd be able to do that, but I don't disagree with doing it. You know, I have someone close to me in my life that went through very terrible circumstances perpetrated by another person. I'll just leave it at that description right there. The most awful, worst circumstances you can think of, and that person forgave that person. And when I was like, how did you do that? And they were like, well, if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to move on. You know, I have to. You know, and because that's what Jesus did too. And I think it's a healthy thing to do. Yeah. You know, and I would recommend it to anyone listening to us right now. Like if you've got someone that you're holding on to that hate against right now, that it doesn't mean you make up with them. Doesn't mean you know, they don't deserve whatever punishment it is or whatever ill thoughts and feelings you have towards that person. But in your heart, I think it's good to forgive them.
There's an interesting story in the Bible between that Jesus kind of settles between, and he makes an important point that happened between Simon, Peter, and Matthew. Now, if you don't know the Bible stories, Matthew was a tax collector prior to following Jesus, and he, at that time, obviously tax collectors were hated because they were Jewish tax collectors collecting from the Jews, and they screwed them over a lot and a lot of things.
As tax collectors do.
Yes, and Matthew was basically at the hand of getting Simon Peter and his brother in a lot of trouble. And luckily Jesus performed a miracle that got him out of that trouble. But essentially, for the first part of following Jesus, like, you know, Simon Peter and Matthew didn't get along. Clearly, most people didn't get along with Matthew. They didn't like him for what he had done in his past. And so Simon came to Jesus basically like, what am I supposed to do? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you want me to, how am I supposed to, you know, preach with this guy? How am I supposed to, whatever? Like, he committed all of these unforgivable sins. And the first thing Jesus said, well, he understood. First, he was understanding and empathetic and saying, yes. And then Simon Peter was like, well, you want me to forgive him? And Jesus was like, not only do I want you to forgive him, but I want you to forgive him 70 times 7. Mm-hmm. And he did it first, by the way, before Matthew ever apologized. But what's interesting is to follow up that story after Simon Peter forgave him, that opened Matthew up to then say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did to you and your family. You didn't deserve that. And so it's an interesting dynamic how it plays out practically most of the time. You know, you can be empathetic and understanding, or sympathetic and understanding to someone's situation. You can also still apologize, or you can offer forgiveness even if they have not repented or apologized. And then that can open up the dynamic of the relationship. And obviously from there, they went on to be, you know, friends for all intents and purposes, as much as we know from Scripture. And so it's an interesting thing that Jesus laid out, 70 times 7.
Yeah, that is Matthew 18, 21 through 35, I believe, if I go back to, you know,
ChatGPT.
No, I didn't use ChatGPT for this. Not for this.
Yeah.
Use Grok for this.
Yes.
Just so you know. Many times. So one of the controversies online has been that, well, the Bible says that you have to repent first and then you can get forgiveness. And by the way, like for people, you know, we have a largely libertarian audience. I think libertarians like 50-50, like agnostic, atheists, or believers of some kind. Even if you don't believe like Jesus is the Son of God or whatever, like there's like historical evidence that the person existed and that these are actual like stories that took place. And, you know, you can look at these as, if you wanted to, as a very valuable group of, you know, parables or life lessons that if we all lived by, probably the world would be a whole lot better place. And so don't just immediately shut off when people start talking about the Bible and all that. It would be my, small little lesson there for the maybe half of libertarians that are listening right now. They're like, oh God, religion. Here we go. That's great.
The good news is we sparked a death penalty debate in the Fed Haters Club.
Oh, good.
So you need to get in on that.
Yeah.
Join gmail.com. Be part of the death penalty debate that's happening live right now.
Have you seen any, what's the debate between?
Well,
yes or no?
Essentially, and basically, and I understand completely that, when someone kills an innocent person, they should also be killed. Isn't that just what it should be? And I understand that sentiment wholeheartedly. It's just the problem is if you get it wrong, you can't reverse that decision.
Oh,
if you get it wrong and the person's life in prison, like you can give them their life back. Now, of course, you still took from them however long they sat there, but at least they can have some sort of life left after that, and they're completely innocent.
I don't want people to misunderstand when I talk about the death penalty. If I saw someone kill my wife, I would kill them and I would sleep better that night after killing them, and I would feel just fine about doing it. I wouldn't feel bad about it at all. The person deserved it. I saw them do it. I don't care. I'm not making the argument on a moral basis at all. If you kill someone, I think you deserve to die. I agree with that. 100% agree with that. And a lot of people would disagree. They would say, that's for God to sort out. Justice is God's. That's not for you to decide that. I'm telling you, someone killed my wife. I would feel just fine killing them. Someone, killed one of my nieces or nephews or something like that. I would feel just fine killing them afterwards. Or like if I saw them do it. I saw them do it. And there they are right there. Yeah, I'd feel just fine. They deserve it. Don't care. I do not trust the government to make that decision at all.
It's too
corrupt. God, if you trust them with that, how do you not trust them with everything else? Yeah. You trust them with that to bring the evidence into the government's courtroom to show someone why the government should be able to kill you? And if you trust them with that, how do you not trust them on everything else? I don't understand that one at all. Like, that's a pretty big one right there. They gather the evidence. They put you in a cage. They bring it to one of their other servants. And then they argue that they should be able to kill you. No. Ain't going to happen. No way.
Nope.
It does happen, unfortunately, and they get it wrong quite often.
Way too often.
Yeah. Too many times.
You would think 1 or 2%. Nope, 30%. People have been killed by the government and they were completely innocent.
Yeah.
And it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And what do? You just tell the family oh, sorry. Sorry, we killed Tim.
That's not enough.
Turns out he was completely innocent. What do you do?
By that standard, the person who decided they get the death penalty needs the death penalty. I mean,
you'd have a lot less pursuit.
That's what we're saying here.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? So
I think they would. I think they would make sure.
By the way, I haven't looked at set those kinds of incentives out there. If you find out it gets it wrong, then you're getting what that person got.
All right.
I haven't read the chat. I have no clue who I'm arguing with, and so no one take offense to that whatsoever. I have not looked at anyone's comments in the last 5 or 10 minutes. So just so you know, I don't want anyone to.
I just think people should join in the conversation. Join gmail.com.
More people in there for sure.
We have a friendly debate. I think we've only ever kicked out one person.
One person, that's it.
And that's because of name calling and things that were not appropriate. So keep it civil. And you can say whatever you want. Okay? Mm-hmm. Join gmail.com.
This is a hate group. Okay? It's literally a hate group.
Fed haters.
But keep it civil.
Join gmail.com. If you like the show, share it around with a friend, a family member, or foe. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go to godhatesfeds.com. Pick up some merchandise. Or click that button that says Join GML to be part of the Fed Haters Club. JoinGML.com. Visit the links in the show notes to support the sponsors that support this show. If you do all that, we'll be back again tomorrow. Hope you have a good day and a good morning, Liberty. Good night, Liberty.